Hey, this is Brian Steele. You're listening to Without Your Head, the Creature Boy, Without Your Head.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neil, and I'm joined by Jim Ojala, writer and director of Strange Nature. How you doing?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Now, Strange Nature. I noticed that you're from the area that the movie takes place.
Yes, I'm from Duluth, Minnesota, and which is where everything stems from, because this whole outbreak of frog deformities happened when I was still in high school, actually. And so the idea had stuck with me all these years. And then when it came time to try to, make my first feature, I was like, hey, whatever happened with all that? Because, it's a pretty bizarre thing to see mutated frogs on the front page of your local newspaper. And then when I found out it's still happening and it wasn't actually solved, it was like, oh, there's a story in this.
Mm-hmm. And I think, even if you're not, totally aware, when you set, a story within some type of reality, there's something about that you notice. You know what I mean? It seems like more and more realistic.
Yeah, exactly. It's a way to kind of tell a fantastic, bizarre story, but keep it firmly planted on planet Earth, which I think has a better chance to get under people's skin.
Yeah. So how about people in that area? How do they know about the movie, and how do they take to it? Are they happy, or I don't want this movie about Duluth?
It actually hasn't premiered there yet. It's premiering in October in Minnesota. So they haven't seen it, but when we were doing it and promoting it, everybody was super excited. I mean, the mayor of Duluth went on local television, told the whole city they had to get behind me in the project. The fantastic actor Stephen Tobolowsky flew out to Minnesota to play the mayor of Duluth, and we shot in the real mayor's office. We filmed all over Minnesota. It's where I'm from, so we get all the locations. We have so much support from the locals, and it was awesome.
Oh, that's really cool, then. I hope the mayor likes the performance.
Oh yeah, me too. He's not necessarily a bad guy, so hopefully he digs it, and we didn't trash his office too bad. So
yeah.
I was just saying, it was also particularly exciting for a lot of the local people in Minnesota, because there's a lot of independent film that comes out of Minnesota is more, it's more of a drama based, and so very few genre films come out. So if you have a film that comes in and you've got these, actors from out of town, and you've got, these frogs, and you've got all these special effects and stunts and all these things, it was a little different. It was a little unique. So, it got people really excited.
Mm-hmm. And for people who aren't aware, you have a huge background in special effects. So when did you decide I also want to direct a movie, write a movie?
Well, I started out directing. What got me my start was in Minnesota. I was doing a cable access series, My Three Scums, which is crazy horror comedy. And we had fan base, and we had a lot of people that hated us. The mayor at that time and the police chief were against us. We got death threats. I mean, it was crazy, but we were, 19-year-old punk rock kids. So it was awesome, cool. We don't care. And then a company in New York, Troma, the makers of Toxic Avenger, Class of Nukem High, all those kind of classics, they saw it and dug it and invited me to come out and an intern on their next film, Toxic Avenger 4, Citizen Toxie. So, and through that film, I got in with the effects department, and then kind of realized okay, nobody just jumps into being a writer-director. You have to find some way to survive while you're doing that. You might be a waiter or a telemarketer or whatever. Luckily, I was able to get in as a makeup effects artist, and kind of Tim Considine, the guy that was the head of that company, took me under his wing and taught me everything. And I was like, ooh, this is an awesome niche that I can be in while I'm pursuing my filmmaking career. And then eventually those two worlds can merge. So when I'm putting together the film like Strange Nature, I can, if we have downtime, so we're not just sitting around waiting for the money to come in, let's build some monsters, let's build creatures, let's build makeup effects. And then that's all stuff that we have skin in the game that we can bring to the table and be like, look, I'm not just a dude with a script. I've got all these awesome, expensive effects already built that you don't even have to take care of.
Yeah. That's so. When you're doing the effects on the different movies, so did you use that chance also to kind of study filmmaking? Watching the directors.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, whether it's I was on set for 2012, Roland Emmerich's film, or I was on set for Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, all those TV shows, and a lot of Joss Whedon's early work, before he went on to do Avengers. And so you get, and then right down to Troma, and, doing like, okay, how do you do really crazy, ambitious things on no budget, on up to the biggest budgets you can imagine. So I've been able to get a taste of everything across the board and see how things are done. And it's incredibly helpful to be on different sets to learn from other people how to do things the right way and the wrong way.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up Troma, because a lot of people on the show over the years, it's either like they have terrible experience with Troma, or they speak really highly of Troma and Lloyd. And I always think it's one of two things. It's if you're looking at your experience with Troma, like you're going to become, you're going to make $1 million, whatever, you're probably going to have a bad experience. But if you go into it, like kind of what you said, a way to learn and go on to do something else, usually people have really good experiences and say, that really helped them get into making movies.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. It's all about how you look at the situation. If you look at it as a money grab, you're going to get pretty bummed out. But if you look at it as like, what are the other, like, this is the longest running independent film studio in America's history. So what other ways other than money can these guys help you? You work your ass off for them. And you know what? They've been really loyal to me. They gave me referrals to my first effects jobs in LA. When we were doing publicity events for Strange Nature in Minnesota, they sent me out the 35 millimeter print of Citizen Toxic Avenger 4 to hold the Minnesota premiere of it and charge money for it. And they didn't charge me a dime, just as a favor to me. So it's like for what I was looking as, to get back from them, they totally delivered. I knew it was never going to be a money grab with them, but you got to think bigger than that. What are the long-term ramifications of this relationship?
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%. So, Tiffany Schapps has a cameo in the movie. Did you meet her with your time with Troma?
I never met her through Troma. I actually met her at a Halloween horror convention.
Oh, really? Okay.
Back when I was like a teenager in Minnesota, like out in the middle of some field or something. And but then all these years later, I've always been a fan of Tiffany's. And then when we had this role come up in Strange Nature, I thought she'd be perfect for it. But I don't want to just be one of these guys that, I just reached out to you through Facebook and whatever. So I called up Lloyd, and Lloyd Kaufman, he put the word out to Tiffany that hey, Jim's a friend of mine. You need to talk to this guy. He's doing a worthwhile project. And then she read the script, and boom, she was on board instantly.
Yeah, that's cool. So did you do the effects in the movie too?
Yes. I spent a lot of years leading up to actually shooting, building the effects one piece at a time with my team. There's a lot of people involved. It's not just me. It was a lot of people involved. I was supervising and building where I could. And then when we actually got on set, we had my make department head, Lauren Wild, and Steve Van Atkins, who is actually a former wrestler as well. He actually wrestled with John Hennigan. He's an effects guy now. So he came out and handled a lot of the mechanical puppet creature effects. And then whenever I needed to, I might jump in turn the creature this way, or, let's do these kind of touch-ups on this mutant makeup to make it a little more like this. And then once I would get it established, I would do my best to step away, because I'm already going on 4 hours of sleep a night, and just, we're, wearing all these other different hats. So it's the big thing is trying to get people that you trust to handle the department so you can walk away.
Mm-hmm. Before we get off Troma stuff, did I see a Lloyd Kaufman cameo? I thought I did, and I don't want to give too much away.
You did.
All right.
Yes, you did. It's very subtle. It's very quick, but Lloyd is in there, and it lasts, and it matters.
Yeah, it does. So I don't want to say too much, because then people can find it on their own.
Exactly, but it's a fantastic little Easter egg.
Yes, it is. So you mentioned John Hennigan, and wrestler, also does acting and stuff, and he does have some, like a fight scene and stuff. But I think this is the first movie I saw him in where he's primarily like an actor and not just like a stunt guy or like an action guy.
Right, exactly. I worked with him on a film, Darkness Descending, with Danny Trejo, where I was doing John Hennigan's tattoos. And we got to be buds from there, and I helped him out on another Ghost Puncher project that he was doing where I did effects. And we got to be friends, and I started to realize, like, you know what? This guy has something going on. He's got this, like, crazy good charm, but he's also got some natural – John has some real natural – instincts, actor instincts and ability. And when I realized that, I asked him if he would like to do the role of Sam. And when he was into it, I was like, man, this, especially with that dark charm of his, like to play kind of a villain was just, he was fantastic. He was really solid in the film.
Yeah.
And then also when you can get a guy like that, that's totally delivering the goods, the chops, for the acting, and you can throw him through a table and you can throw him through a wall, then that's even better,
Yeah, definitely. So you said it's based on some truth. Is there any human, did this ever go to any, like are there any real human cases in the area?
Not as of now, but like I said, this was only discovered in 1995. So we don't really know the long-term ramifications of this. I mean, the fact is that the frog DNA is actually more complex than human DNA. And we don't even know what causes most human birth defects to this day. So, if pesticides in this country are only tested once every 15 years, and a lot of these pesticides and herbicides and fertilizers that we use have data that says that they can cause certain things and we're still using them, I don't know how long it would be before something did show up in another life form, whether that's mammals, or, your family pets or humans or what. But it is still going on, and it's spreading across the country, actually. It's not happening as much in Minnesota anymore like it was in the 90s, but now we've got hot spots in Northern California. In 2013 in Oregon, they found one population that was 100% deformed. Every single frog they pulled out had some kind of deformity. Like that's never happened ever before. So it's something that's still going on. And, frogs are life. They're one of our first bioindicators of what's going on in an environment. And if every year we're getting, 50% or more in population decline as a result of these deformities from these areas, like it's a pretty grim future, and where that leads, I don't know.
Yeah. So how much when you're writing the movie, how much time did you take to investigate the actual science involved in this, or was it something that you already knew about?
I knew really basic headline stuff, and then I dug in. There was a couple really good books that have been written about it, The Peril of Frogs and A Plague of Frogs. And then I did a ton of online research. And then eventually, when we got to the special effects pre-production part of okay, how do we build these frogs? How do we build special effects frogs? And it was damn, no matter how good of an effects guy you are, if you're trying to build something that small that looks convincing and moves the right way, it's damn near impossible. So it was well, wait a minute, it's a real thing. Maybe we can get the real thing. So I started reaching out to the scientific community and actually got a lot of support from them because they feel really screwed over, and that all these issues have been kind of pushed under the carpet because they didn't find a solution in time or quick enough. So they're really happy that somebody was making a film about this. And then Dr. Peter Johnson, who is one of the leading ecologists on these cases still in the U.S., came on as our consultant. And as a result of that relationship, we were able to attain some of the live, real deformed frog specimens, and they're in the film. So it's all the real thing in the film. So it's a hell of a place to start from.
That's wild, because I actually paused it a couple times to look at the frog, because it did look, the frogs, they did look so good. I was like, did they like put makeup on like real frogs or what?
Right. It's like, how did you glue the extra legs to them or what?
Yeah. And
yeah, no,
it's
a real thing. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I like that there's sort of like a Jaws kind of thing to the movie where it's, like in Jaws, we can't close the beaches because, the tourists and stuff. And so, this has similar idea where it's like, don't look too far into it because it's going to hurt, what we make here in town will hurt will hurt jobs and whatnot. It's weird that you would think you look past something that's like could be like harmful to all of humanity, for something, that seems kind of silly in a way.
Right. And that comes down to, it is technically at that point in the film an assumption that it could hurt us, just like it is in real life. It's just an assumption that it could maybe leak to us. So we don't really take it all that seriously because, at the end of the day, a lot of people just don't really care what happens to frogs. So until it ends up on your doorstep. And that was kind of the point where it's like, okay, if you had a small town that's already struggling economically, and their one source of income and employment is this, job provider of a pesticide company, and they're doing well, and people like their product, you're going to have to come up with some hardcore evidence that this is harmful in any way before anybody's going to even lift a finger, And so it's like, I don't think it wasn't an overly dramatic response of the mayor to request that in the film. Like, that's a very realistic response. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to have to do some real work to see if there is something to this.
Yeah. So it premiered yesterday when we were taping this in LA.
Yes.
Were you there?
And we were there. We had a big cast crew premiere screening Friday night, the 21st, and it was like bonkers. It was awesome. Big reception. It was super cool. And then today at 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we're doing a Q&A with a bunch of the cast and crew as well at the screening, and including John Hennigan, Carlos Alzraki, and Lisa Sheridan, our star, and a bunch of others. So it's gonna be awesome. The response so far has been really fantastic.
Yeah, I've seen like all the online reviews. So was that the first time you saw the movie with an audience?
That was the first time I ever saw with an audience. Yeah, it was, so it's nerve-wracking, it's mind-blowing, it's exhilarating, it's everything, because we would do like little teeny test screenings beforehand, like in my editor's like living room with like a couple other like industry friends, and you'd see what you can get from that, but it's tough because you try to take other people's opinions serious, but then you might have somebody whose opinion you trust, and they're telling you to cut your favorite part from the film. Yeah. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to trust my gut on this and kind of shut you down there, and that's kind of what the post process is all about.
Yeah. I would think to me, that would be like really rough because you'd be kind of torn, I think, like, well, it because you remember filming that. So are you just like emotionally attached because you have like a memory of that? And maybe it doesn't fit the movie, or you really do feel like it fits in the movie. So I would think it would be kind of hard to deal with, like knowing what to cut and what not to.
Absolutely. We went through all that process, and that's one of the things that takes so much time because you need to look at it, get some feedback, and then step away and really like absorb it, and then take another look at it. Because our first cut was like 2 hours and 5 minutes, and I was like, brilliant, perfect. I wouldn't cut a thing out of it. Uh-huh. Everything's in there just how I want it. And then, you start to get some feedback, and then you look at it again. It's like, oh, wow, that whole big scene we shot in this bar, it's this karaoke scene, it's all these extras, and it was a big pain in the ass to film and everything. It actually doesn't need to be there. And it's not that entertaining, but we spend so much time and effort and money to film it. Maybe that's what I'm fighting for, but it actually doesn't need to be there. So over time, you're a little more and more honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Bruce Bone in the movie. I think he's one of my favorite characters in the movie. I thought he was great.
Yeah, Bruce was a killer find. He He was a local actor in Minnesota, but I'd already known his work from, he was Francis McDormand's police partner in Fargo, and he was Andy in Dawn of the Dead, the remake, and which I loved. So it was like, and then he was so thrilled about the script, and he was just, he was awesome. He was awesome. He was one of those just total pros.
Well, he's very likable and very charismatic. So, you like him, but at the same time, there's a little quirkiness to him. You're wondering if there's, not like, if there's an evil side or something to him. So he totally works in the movie.
Right. Thank you. Yeah.
And how about Lisa Sheridan? How did she get involved? What about her did you think was right for Kim?
We auditioned a ton of actresses in LA for the role of Kim. And, we're a small production, so it was kind of like, okay, everybody that's, in our budget level, let's get them in and, see if they're working. And out of all these actresses, Lisa was literally the only one, like truthfully, that came in and we could look at her audition afterwards and in person and be like, wow, she's the only one that can nail this. She's the only one that nailed it because she came in with that sense of like, there's a sense of her of caring, and that could be a mother, but she also, the most important thing is she came in the door with a sense of an edge of somebody that's been through something, that's been through some heavy shit. And that's exactly what we needed. That's something you don't have to teach somebody. They've already got it inherently. She already read that into the part and brought that to the audition. And she was the only one. She was the only one out of just dozens and dozens of actresses that we auditioned that came in with the right attitude right off the bat. And it was like, okay. And then we had her screen test with Jonah Barris, who we knew we wanted for Brody. And when they melded together and we bought them on screen as mother and son, it was like, okay, done. You're hired.
Yeah. Did you base like the look of the mutants off of anything?
No, nothing specifically. That was just kind of having fun with it,
Yeah. Now, I like the aspect of the tourists in the movie too, that, something's terrible's happening here. And then like it actually brings tourists in.
Right. I always wanted to explore that because in Duluth, I remember back in, probably it was like the early 90s or something. There was some like toxic gas leak down by the bridge on Lake Superior. And like nobody got hurt or anything. I mean, I think some people were coughing or whatever, but it spread, this toxic gas spread around the lake. It was like a one-day event on this Tuesday. And just on that, because this is small town Americana, so they turned it into a tourist thing. This one day little an accident, and they called it Toxic Tuesday. And they started releasing. They had T-shirts with crude animation, kind of like our T-shirts about I survived Toxic Tuesday. And I always thought that was so hilarious that they took such a kind of mundane thing and turned it into this like it was Chernobyl or something. And I was like, I wanted to kind of play off of that,
Yeah. It makes you wonder, like, just the regular citizens who live there, how they would feel about it. Like, this is what my town's known for. People are coming in.
Right. Exactly. I mean, hopefully I'm not going to get too much shit when I go back and show it. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. There's use real news footage in the movie. Was it hard to obtain that and use it in the movie?
No, a lot of the real news footage was covered under public domain for the way where you're using it. And then also a lot of the footage that's actually in the middle of the film, we did that ourselves because we became the actual news stations in Duluth became huge supporters of ours. So, I mean, they saw us struggling to make this year after year to get this going. So whenever we needed to, we would go in there when I was visiting just family at Christmas time or something. And I'd be like, hey, we need a couple newscasters talking about deformed babies. Can we do that this weekend? No problem. And we would get the real newscasters on the air seriously reporting about these things so we could put them in the film. So it was just, It was just so cool to have a community effort like that.
Yeah. And I have to admit, the poster art's amazing. I don't know if you had any hand in designing that or who designed it, but it's great.
Yeah, that's Christopher Schei. We a friend of mine made this film called Alpha Wolf, and he showed me the artwork that Christopher Schei did, and I was just blown away. I was like, that's the guy that I need for this. And I just approached him independently, told him like, this is what we have going, because like he's like a big time guy. Like he does movie posters for big studio films. In fact, the new Nicolas Cage movie Mandy that's out right now in theaters, he did the poster for that. And I just approached him, said, this is what we're doing. This is where we're at. We need a poster. We need an alternative poster. And, you know, and this is, I knew we wanted the concept of the frog with the baby in it based on this, this other artwork that we had seen before. And then if you can find a way to put the cast in there somewhere, that'd be great. Mm-hmm. And he comes back like on a first draft with that. And I was like, holy crap. Like that never happens where you just can give somebody an idea and they get it that quickly. I mean, the guy is just brilliant. And he genuinely loved the movie too. So he was into it. He was emotionally involved. So that makes all the difference.
Yeah. Is that painted, the poster?
It's a mix of painted and digital painting, along with bringing in some real images from the film and manipulating them. But it was like, man, I don't want a big picture of our monster on the cover, and I don't want the Scream poster where it's just like, oh, here's just like a bunch of good-looking people staring at you. Like this, it's not interesting. I don't understand why studios and other films are so lazy. It's like you have this opportunity to create an original piece of art to represent this thing you worked your ass off on. Why not make it epic? You know?
Mm-hmm. I agree. And with so many movies out there nowadays, the first thing you see is the poster art or some type of art out there for it. And if it captures your attention, you're more likely to check it out.
Exactly. That's the thing, you know? Yeah. I mean, I really wanted to go back to that 70s, 80s feel where they really cared. They actually did real artwork. Like I wanted that vibe, you know?
Yeah. So weird question, but as soon as I heard the what the movie's about, were you tempted at all to put any line about making the freaking frogs gay in the movie? Like an Alex Jones reference.
Oh, no, that didn't really hit me at the time. But maybe for part 2.
All right. That's a silly question, but it popped in my mind, so I'd ask.
Yeah, no, totally.
So after this weekend, when the movie's playing, and then in October it's playing in Minnesota, where does it go from there?
We make our festival premiere right where it belongs at the Twin Cities Film Fest, October 19th. In Minneapolis, Minnesota. And then October 21st, we start playing at the Cinema Theater in Duluth, Minnesota. And then we're busy negotiating deals with other theaters throughout Minnesota right now. And then we're also playing at Great Western Catskills Film Festival in New York, upstate New York as well. And then boom, in October, we release on Walmart, Redbox, Amazon. You'll be able to get it everywhere.
Oh, very cool. I assume there'll be specials on the DVD Blu-ray release.
The first version that comes out won't have any of our special features, but we're going to have follow-ups, and the foreign release will have all that stuff on there.
All right. And where do you go to follow the movie? You know, where it's going to be, and any information on it.
You can go to our Facebook page, which is just facebook.com/Strange Nature Movie. You can follow us on Twitter at Strange Nature 1. We also have an Instagram, which has a lot of really cool behind the scenes photos and crazy things that are coming up, which is just at Strange Nature Movie. And then we also have our website, strangenaturemovie.com. So between all of that, you're covered.
All right. Very cool. Well, I appreciate coming on. It was cool to talk to you.
Thank you. And then if anybody wants to come to see it in the theater in Los Angeles, it's playing until September 27th, and you can go to lemley.com for more ticket information.
Sweet, because as much as I like watching a movie, on my computer on the TV, to me, there's nothing like watching a movie on the big screen.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's why you do things like, let's make sure we shoot this on film or in 4K or whatever, so you can actually see it blown up and have it still look awesome, you know?
Yeah, very cool. All right, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. All right.
Yep.
Hi, this is Carl Stryken, the fireman from Twin Peaks, and you're listening to Without Your Head.